Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
You know, they say that everybody has a story. There's a background with everybody. We have a tale to tell. And here's a guy who's an accomplished architect in the New York metro area. His name is John Riggio. And then I come to find out that he, back in the day, was a tennis pro. Had no idea. We started talking about that a couple of times back when we got together here, and he's back. And I'm learning more stuff about this guy every day. It's amazing. John, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing very well. Yeah. So it's funny. I played tennis with my daughter over the weekend and started talking about you and the fact that you had played as a pro back when you were in your 20s. She's in her 20s. You never gave us your professional tennis name. Is that ever going to get revealed?
Yes. I'm going to say it today. Yes. I will tell you some secrets of tennis today and really some interesting points at what I was playing. And I had left them out before, but I will reveal them now.
Yeah, we'd love to hear that. And back in the day, I used to play a lot of tennis. I'm not good, but I used to play a lot. Where do we begin? You want to give us the name that you went by?
Yes. What we could do is I'd like to show you the share screen. I'd like to show you the Tony Roach video.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let me share it here. Okay, you have to put on screen sharing for me.
I got that on now. Should be able to do it.
Okay, good. Okay. So this is some videos, and this shows the Tony Roach videos. Okay, so now in this part of the video, he's going through some players here. And let's go through the players. Good, John Newcomb there.
I remember that name too. It's funny that all the names that you've mentioned, like John, you just mentioned, Newcomb, Boris Becker, Yvonne Lendl, all of those names I remember from back in the 80s. Tennis players, yeah.
So now this is that's me over here on the right side. See me with the two rackets. I have the Adidas sweats on, the new sneakers, the white top. So that's me there.
I'm looking. I'm not looking at a video. Are you playing a video? Because I'm not seeing that.
Oh, you don't see the video?
No, but what I do see is it highlighted. I see it highlighted.
Oh, okay. So let's see if I can get this. Let's see if we can get this.
Do you have dual screen?
Let me see if you could see the. I have dual screens. Yes.
Yeah, that's why you would need to move the video player back into the other screen.
Okay, let me do that.
Because I see you highlight the MP4 to play the video. Well, we're not seeing the actual playing of the video.
Okay, can you see the video now?
I do not see it. No. But I see you have it highlighted as if you just double clicked it.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I put a JPEG up there. Can you see the JPEG?
No, I don't see that either. I see your directory. I see the directory with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10, 12 different JPEGs and also videos, but I don't see them playing.
Okay.
See, you about to highlight that one. And by the way, John's website is johnriggio, RIGGIO.com. And yeah, he's an architect and a tennis player at the same time, does it all.
Okay, so let's take a quick look at this.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of odd why I see your screen, but I don't see it.
Okay, can you see this, the web page?
I see the web page. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so this web page is a web page I made up, and it shows here, there's one picture on here. It shows this picture with Arthur Ashe talking. You see, that's me in the background.
Wow,
That's
Arthur Ashe.
I have my Adidas pants on, my what it is, and then I have my two rackets with the racket covers, and I'm there.
How crazy.
And,
yeah.
And I'm there waiting for a match. I just went up there. There was some big matches going on at the time. So that's me in the video. That's the Tony Roach video. And this page I made up, it shows a long history of tennis, starting off at the top, some old identification, my picture there when I was younger.
Wow.
This is an older picture. Then this is some information. It shows this is the tennis center over at Sutton East here on 59th Street. And then this here just shows an old polo ground picture just to get an idea of where that stadium was getting constructed. And that's what I have on here. So, okay,
Wow.
so let me close this now.
I got to tell you, John, it's like for me, a blast from the past, because all those names like Arthur Ashe, I wouldn't remember them until you say them. But when you say them, I feel like I'm back in 1987.
Yes.
It's kind of wild. And you would hear all those names.
Yes.
If you would watch the sports on TV or any kind of tennis event, all those names would be coming up. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I was playing all those different names, some of them are already players in retirement, already coaching. Everyone was there, but they aren't always on television. They're not always writing about them, but they're there playing with us. And that's why showing that video is showing a lot of different players that are involved in tennis at the tennis center at the time.
How did that feel for you? Now, you're in your 20s. These are the best players literally in the world. These are the biggest of the best. And here you are with them, maybe practicing with them. They're with you. How did that feel back then? I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I was able to handle something like that. I had great playing ability, and I was always able to hold my court. I was on court 33. They made this court 33, and they turned it into official courts with seating and bleachers around it and everything like that. And since I was playing so excellent, everything wasn't necessarily in the spotlight, but I was really moving up. And I explained that when I made number one, they gave me that tennis bubble. So, but right at that point, when I was moving up, I had at that point met again with Tony Roach, and everything was going wonderful. My playing was continuing to move up. My rankings were moving up. And so when I made it to that point is when I, in fact, was then knighted by royalty. So a lot of things with tennis is really big around the world, especially in Europe. And a lot of things have to do with royal families in Europe. And some tennis players, if they're really excellent, they make it look like the number one, they might get knighted. And I was then awarded a knighthood, in fact, by the Prince of Savoy. Yes, Mr. Filiberto Emanuele. He came there with his
Wow.
his wife and parents, and they showed up especially for me. And before I was knighted, I also played a match with Sergio Ticini. I think you might know, like if you go to the sports store, they might have like really nice tennis wear. And I think that is one thing that is branded by Sergio Ticini. And I played against him. I played an excellent match. We played a full match in front of the royal family. And it was a really hard match. I was able to win it, pretty big. They were really impressed with me. And I was also knighted for level house at night. And I did really good. And so that was excellent. And that really set the stage of really being at the top of the world and knowing really top people. And then from there, I told you the story how my bubble was at Alipan, then it stopped back to court 33. And then from there, I was then at Sutton East. So Sutton East, they built that tennis center. They put the bubble in the whole tennis center for me. And at that time, what happens is I was playing my matches, my tournaments. I was winning. I was really coming through, winning big for them. And at that point, I needed to have a new tennis name. So my new tennis name at that time, I went through my sponsors, and my name became John Vanderbilt. And now my sponsors with John Vanderbilt, the name Vanderbilt is very touchy. It's really a top name. And I'm not really allowed to use the name as my own name anymore. because the name is really like a special name with certain kinds of names they might have around the world. Maybe
I
like
mean,
the
that is
Rothschilds or something like that. And but my name is permanently on my sporting cards at that time. And I think you could still find the name John Vanderbilt on the internet. I think I did see the card one time. And in fact, one of them, and so then at that point, what happened is my playing was excellent with John Vanderbilt. John Vanderbilt was an excellent name. They really liked it. I did autograph signings with the name a few times, and you know, all kinds of people used to come. I used to sign my name, and it was really working good. I'm well known around the world with that name. In fact, one of my in-laws, I was over in China. My in-laws has my card, knows my whole career. They knew I was a top player, and it was really amazing. They knew it under the name John Vanderbilt. So
how did you get that name? Was it because, you know, of course, the name Vanderbilt is huge. I mean, you think of, you know, people like the Vanderbilt family, Gloria Vanderbilt, the designer. How did that all come about?
that was devised with myself and Gloria Vanderbilt at the time. She was involved with playing. And
Wow.
so that's how I got that name. And I think that name is a very direct name. It really doesn't disguise. It's sort of our team of players and sponsors. So that's how it came out. And but that was an excellent name. It's a good, strong name, and everyone loves it. And but what happened is so that name, in fact, since there was a problem with it being a certain type of name they have here in the U.S. that is not, they have problems. Sometimes there are con artists taking their names and using it around town, and it becomes a big problem. So using that name sort of stopped, and my tennis name went back to my natural name, and there was another card made after that. After I did a whole, continued to play and win more, they went back to my name, John Riggio. But at that point, John Vanderbilt was doing wonderful, and they're known around the world, over in the other part of the world, over by in like areas like China, Japan, Philippines. They all know me over there too. Especially they used to watch me on television, and so that was really good. And in fact, I was winning so wonderful. I received one award from the ATP, and that is to make my career where I'm considered a tennis legend. So I think if you were to look at some tennis players, pro players, and then it says tennis legend, and you don't know why they would say tennis legend, it's really an official title that they gave me. So I was given the official title tennis legend. That is one thing. And know what happened now? Now at this point, I'm very high in the world. I know the top people, and all the people that I knew before that was able to stop off at like Ali Pond and everything, and the tennis center. They really couldn't come to my level anymore. I was so high they couldn't come to my level. So what I did was I was able to make a new girlfriend at the time, and it was a young entertainer, a young singer, Britney Spears. So it was
Wait a minute. Say
yeah.
that. Give me that again. I'm trying to connect the dots.
So my new girlfriend at that point was really Britney Spears, which was already, she was already a top entertainer at that time. And I knew her father. Her father, I used to just call him James, just as his name, you know, just like using they used to just call him James. I don't know if they call him in the tabloids James, but I used to talk to him and call him James. And yeah, we were in a very serious situation. I think I was approved really to get married to Britney Spears, depending on how far forward my career would go. And I knew James, the father, and they invited me over to go to LA, play on Hammond Court. In fact, I could have my own court at Hammond Court there too. So that is
all right.
Yeah, I'd like to stop off there one day. But yeah, so that is, and so I knew them up to like the end of where there was potentially I would make my move to California, and it's a possibility I would head over to there. And that's really what happened as far as that's concerned. That's really amazing. It didn't seem strange to me. At that point, I knew a lot of people. I didn't mention all of them, but I just gave you the most important ones today. But I knew a lot of people that are really top in the world at that point, and they knew me. They always encouraged me to play and to win, and I was really big winning, sort of similar to maybe like people who are boxers. you don't see them on television every night, but there's a whole sport world going on generating money. And so that was really big.
Wow.
And yes,
I tell you, with the even just flashing back to the name Vanderbilt, when you received that name, that was at the time where the Vanderbilt family, especially Gloria, she had just launched her fashion line. It was in the late 70s, somewhere around there, where it really became popular. So now we're talking, maybe 10 years past that, 9, 8, whatever. So that was a name. I mean, we knew the Vanderbilt name from the 30s, 40s, 50s and on, but it really became a name at that point. I want to go back. How did that name become yours? How did they decide on that? How, like you said, you just don't throw that name around. When you say Vanderbilt, you got it, like Rockefeller.
What happened is, since I was playing so great, and one person involved in my tennis was Gloria Vanderbilt, and they talked to the ATP on the phone, and they just devised this name. This is one name that they devised.
Wow.
And it worked out really good. The name was excellent. A lot of people liked it. When I had signing day, everyone from Manhattan in particular, they come in, young kids would come in, I'm signing my name. And it worked out really great.
Wow.
And it was good because I was still winning big, and I of course won big to the end, and they really liked it. It was an excellent name. I think there was only that one problem with having certain names that are in the US and the world that can potentially become a problem.
Right.
But that was
it was approved.
yeah, it's excellent name. They're nice people, and we aren't really any different. I mean, they're good. They're good people that were doing really good work, and we did excellent. That was really wonderful. And,
So I gotta ask.
And at that time, I knew their sons. Anderson Cooper.
Right. Yeah.
Played some tennis. He played some tennis on the court with them, and I don't want to say too much, but yeah, but that was great.
Yeah, he lives on Long Island, where you're originally from. I believe he's in Quogue, New York.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Huh, how interesting. So I got to go back. So we're talking what you showed before, roughly.
I played tennis with the other brother too, who, in fact, he was departed. He
yes.
had passed
Yeah.
on.
As we're talking, all of this is coming back, and actually, Gloria, if I remember, she passed away like 3 years ago. She
Yes.
lived a long time, because I remember him doing a eulogy or a tribute to his mom, Anderson. So 1987, that's where it's kind of looked like the peak for you in your tennis career.
Well, 87, I think, was the beginning of me really starting to get into reaching #1, and that's where I got my tennis bubble going. But then it lasted another 3 years. It went all the way to I think after 1990. I think it might have went into right before the next presidential election. I think it was next presidential election was something like, I'd have to check, but it was somewhere around there.
So how old were you then around that time?
I was starting to get into the age of, let me see, it was around 22 years old.
Wow. So I want to get inside your head. Now, here you are at that age. You're excelling in tennis. You're playing the best players, or you're around the best players in the universe at that time. Did you get nervous?
No, not nervous at all. I was always an excellent player. They used to come right down to where I was in high school. I knew these players for a long time. I was able to hold my court there all the way in the high school in Jericho. And they used to, all the top pros used to come in. In fact, I was compared to Julius Erving, Dr. J in basketball.
Sure.
There's a legend that everyone went down to his courts. They did the same thing. They all came down to my court to play with me. I'm like in the schoolyard, and I was able to beat. I only lost 1 out of 25 like the whole time. They were really amazed at my playing ability. So yeah, I think some players also that were really like big money makers and players that weren't just like acting or anything, were like people like Guillermo Villas and Stefan Edberg.
Yep.
Those are like two other players that are really similar to myself too, in playing and really generating a lot of money and playing good, honest game. Those are 2 players that are very similar to myself.
So let's go back for just a sec.
And I know both of them. I played them. I know them.
Yeah, Stefan Edberg. I remember that name too. I'm telling you, for somebody, that played tennis back in the day, just for fun, it's for me, it's like whew, to hear all these names, because these were household names back then. And
Yes.
tennis is big now, but back then it was like, there's a reason you knew those names. They really stood out. 3 years in, you said, now we're talking right around 1990. You told us before, how did your tennis career, how did it wrap up? I remember you telling me. I'm trying to bring that back in my mind.
What happened is my sponsors needed to keep my ranking at the Sun East. And then, of course, from the Sun East, my ranking would then go over to our new stadium that was getting constructed. They started construction of the stadium. But there was some kind of stoppage that required lawyers going to court, and that is completely out of my control. So for some reason that stopped. I did get a extension of time where I was able to come back, continue to play, and I was back winning big again. But then the same thing happened where there was something where I had to go to court. I think the only loophole there was a potential for me to go all the way to California, maybe start playing at Hammond Court, and then get picked up by one of my sponsors that are over there. I had sponsors all over the world. And so one of my sponsors are over there, and it's a possibility I could get picked up there. But but I didn't make it over there to California. But although that was the only really possibility, was to go there and then get picked up and continue playing. And then so they're building the stadium over here in New York. It sounded a little strange that I have to go all the way over there, California, maybe build another stadium there. I mean,
Right. I feel like, and this stadium's like right around the corner from where you live, basically.
Yes, over in the Polo Grounds.
So I'm just trying to put all this together, because you're an architect. So, and as a tennis pro, were you thinking architecture at that time? Was that on your mind? Like, I might want to be an architect.
Yeah, I think with sports, everyone has like a side job. And you believe all the players you see, they always have a side job. Architect work isn't too bad for sports and tennis. You can make flexible hours for yourself, and that wasn't too bad. So that was always a way to have steady work and steady income. And because I think with the pro sports, there's no guarantees. A lot of 100% of my money was going back into my matches, and so the whole story with having a side profession was very good. A lot of people liked it. They were encouraging that to the sport players. My generation, they wanted everyone to go to college. They didn't want people not to go to college and then have some kind of problem not having a career of some kind where they could generate money on their own.
And talking about that, back then, how were you compensated? I'm curious how that worked. Did you get some money from endorsements? Was it part of the playing? And if it was part of the playing, how would they pay you?
But yeah, as far as the sports industry goes, there is a standard salary that was started when I was 9 years old, and I received it each year, but didn't go into my bank account. They just they had it as a credit. So that was a standard salary. And then there was all kinds of, over the years, bonuses, winnings, and things like that go through my sponsors. That's really just the sport industry. There was some money given to my family. I did receive a small amount of money. And then, of course, the number one thing with sports really isn't even that kind of money. Most people don't really make any salary like I did. I was very official. I signed a contract myself with the U.S. Tennis Center. They gave me a pen. I signed it on a piece of paper. I never made a photocopy of the papers they gave me, but I just signed it myself. And so from there, the most important thing was the equipment. They always looked at the equipment to see if you had more than $3,000 worth of equipment. That is because each tennis racket, if you get a pro stock, is like $1,000. So if, I used to break like one pro stock a week. So I was like, I had like an extra $50,000 worth of equipment. I mean, and like my sweats were really sweats you'd buy at a special pro shop. Those was like $3,000. Some of them were $1,000.
And that's back then.
Yes.
Right? Those are the prices back then. So how did that work in terms of $1,000 racket? Who's paying for that?
Well, that's my sponsors. I had a number of
Okay.
sponsors. I had the tennis shop in Hicksville, and I had from there that my sponsor was really the number one sponsor that really set up everything. First I was sponsored by Prince, then I was sponsored by some other people, and then that's how I moved up, and then the next brand was really Schlesinger. As John Vanderbilt, my sponsor was Schlesinger tennis rackets. And they
Wow.
are usually sponsors of people who only like the number one player. If you look, you see Schlesinger is only going to sponsor someone who's really a top player, and they gave me some equipment also. They gave me all kinds of equipment, and so I think one thing with the $3,000 is very interesting is when I was playing tennis, they had some people that are running like the Olympics, because they wanted to put the tennis was still for amateurs, although they were going to get the tennis into the Olympics for pros. It was really for amateurs. So they were asking me if I made more than $3,000 worth of equipment. I didn't even have to get $3,000 cash. It was just $3,000 worth of equipment. And when I obviously was saying yes, I have more than $3,000 worth of equipment, that excluded me from playing in the Olympics. So I did not have to concern myself with playing in the tennis Olympics at that time. It was still only for amateur players.
Wow. So really it's all about the equipment. That's how we equate, some of your worth, what they give you in terms of equipment, and then a salary. Did you ever, now you said we're almost out of time, but I'm curious, you had some credit, since you were 9 years old, and I guess that, accrued over the years.
Yes.
Did you ever get to cash in on that at some point? Or
that was all used. 100% all of my credit was used. I was just thinking of some credit. I think some of the years, like when I was in the Southeast, I think my bonuses and credit might have equivalent $300,000.
Wow. It's
That's
you know
pretty,
what? You look at those numbers, and that's big, but I'm sure for you,
and that doesn't include equipment, because they gave me the new Schlesinger equipment and all
Right.
kinds of things like that. Doesn't include the equipment.
Just being on the court must have been with these players at that time, no words. Seriously. Like, I can't even imagine what that's like.
They were
Yeah.
all happy to see me. They know when I was playing over there at the Sutton East and I was winning big, and the whole story with the stadium, they were really happy about it, because they all really want another place to play.
Yeah.
They all want another stadium to play, another location to go to. I'd already made 3 of them for them, the Court 33, Addy Pond, and Sutton East. So they already had 3, and then we were working on the stadium, getting a 4th location, and that is all the top players really wanted to go play the new stadium.
Unbelievable. What a history, and the stuff, the stuff you learn. Like, we talked tennis before, but now, and I was beyond impressed the fact that you were playing tennis with those players, but Britney Spears' girlfriend, like, worship.
Yeah.
Yeah. John Riggio, architect. You can go to his website, johnriggio.com, and see what we're talking about. You created that page with all the info on the tennis. Absolutely fascinating talking with you, as always, John.
Like, I think you had also asked me the last time some questions about that red grandstand. A lot of the people involved around me, they were there seeing the grandstand constructed, seeing it painted red and everything. They have a lot of knowledge about that.
Wow. What a history. And he designs buildings and houses.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. All right, John. Fascinating talking with you. Looking forward to getting again sometime very soon.
Great. It's nice talking to you, Steve. Great. Thanks a lot.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.